Okay. This is Polo Legacy, a roundtable shoot at Culver Military Academy. Official date 29 May 2012. We're sitting here with Greg Chandler, a highly reputed polo player, great athlete from Indianapolis. And we have over here Patrick Shanahan, possibly a future Marine, soon to go to Jesuit College, and
he was captain of the varsity polo team this year.
Yeah, and his father is a high-go player in the Menlo area. And of course, we have a lifelong friend of mine named Ed Little, former professional polo player, professor here, who has made Culver his home. And what's missing in that chair there is Mike Daly from Hawaii. My name's Patrick Brent. I've had a lot of years in polo, and I've observed a lot of things. And this Polo Legacy, which we created with both lessons and the roundtable, is because it's designed to improve polo style, form, and conduct. What we're going to do is discuss 29 points. We're going to start off with Greg. We're going to talk about number one here, about it being a game.
It is a game, one that has had a great effect on a person's soul. Being a USPA player is a tough road. You have to keep the game in perspective, and obviously family and work come first. And obviously all demand a lot of priority.
Amen. Would you like to say anything more about that?
You
obviously have a business and a family, right?
I do. All the above. It's funny because I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones in polo because I have, it has become a lifestyle for me. It sounds very similar to how it became for you. And I think that's one of the few ways that it works for us to be able to play as polo players. If your children are involved, hopefully. If your wife is involved, hopefully. And I'm fortunate enough to have all that. I'm fortunate enough to have the polo club at my farm, at my home. I probably didn't do that by choice necessarily. I did it by default, but it's helped probably keep it closer into perspective to family and work and having the polo club right there at home for me. So I've been fortunate.
Right. What's bothered me about this is that there's some people that lose sight of that. It's such a great game, maybe the best, and it's compelling, and they lose sight of their values.
Sure.
I mean, as awesome as polo is, family and your business mission has got to come first. Yeah. And there are so many people that have given their soul to the game that they haven't put that in perspective. And I want to leave that message behind. Anything else you'd like to say about that, Ed?
The game is just so addicting, and I got exposed to the game in high school and just fell in love with it and had planned my life around playing polo. And when I started my family, well, my wife was involved with the polo, and then I had two boys, and I just couldn't wait to get them out there to play. But things change and priorities change, and you can keep it as a perspective, like you say, but also it is something that can really take over and get ahead of you in a hurry.
Sure.
So it's a good point. It's a good number 1 point.
Yes. My flagship one. Would you like to read the number two?
Number two, learn to ride. Be a horseman. It's never too late. And players do not do it well. You can see it right there. That's one of the problems with the game is people get exposed to the game, and if you're bringing in new players, which is difficult to do in clubs, you try to get people up there and let them have a feel if they've ridden a little bit, right, but not an accomplished rider. Sure. You can still get hooked on the game just by the excitement of it. And for example, here at Culver, the students, 90% of our players are beginners when they come in here, or are riders, have never ridden before. So that when they do expose them to polo, we make sure they have a full year of riding lessons, or 3/4 of a year, before we let them play the novice polo. And I tell them the only way that they're going to really get good at this game is if they find ways to play during the summertime and continue with their riding. Sure. And the only way they'll improve is to make their riding better.
One of the stories I tell is that Some polo players never really learn to ride properly. They have two speeds, the barn and galloping. They fall in the post, they'll fall off the horse. The Olympic team, and I took some lessons with the Chilean gentleman from Chile who taught the Olympic team. He put us in an arena, and he would tie up the reins, we'd be bareback, and we'd hold our chest like this, and we'd have to learn to ride. And as a product of that, when I was going in park, I went to the hardware store and put 4 giant letters, DWYA, because the secret of riding, you can drive that horse completely with your posterior. And polo, Kathy Linfoot teaches 8-go polo players how to ride. She has lessons for veterans because they're so busy sitting on the horse hitting the ball, they don't become horsemen. So let's go number 3.
Keep your cool. Remember, the character traits you display during the passion of the game may represent your real character. Under stress, much is revealed. Quotation, one worthy of reflection. I believe the way a person behaves in the game under pressure is the real person.
You know what we're trying to say here?
Absolutely.
When you're under pressure, you lose your cool, you start whatever, whether it's polo or something else, that might be the real person, very well is. We all know some people in polo that are first-class gentlemen. You and I know some that are just, they've made major accomplishments in government, business, and things like that. Well, on the horse, they're a different person. They get really excited. They're just doing a lot of very inappropriate, their behavior's terrible. And Ruben Gracita was in Hawaii one time. He said to me, Patrick, I believe that is their real personality, because when they get off the horse, they have the time to mask it. Any comments on that?
Well, just the heat of the game and the excitement of the competition, if things don't go your way, sometimes it is easy to lose your cool and all. And I think that Ruben's comment does have a lot involved in truth, but I also think that it's another part of the learning curve within polo, because you're not involved in such excitement in your normal day-to-day life.
Sure.
And to get involved with something like that, it's just a part of it, I think, that you learn to discipline, and then you realize it makes a better player out of you also. You've got to be thinking about what's happening and what's about to happen, and not thinking about what has already happened.
That's true.
So that's kind of my thought on it.
That's true. Why don't we let you number?
It's such an ironic question, because I came from prior to polo, a horse background, a steeplechasing and fox hunting, and I had a father who was very much this person that we're talking about. And unfortunately, it taught me that very same perspective, which is not a good one. And unfortunately, I have a son who went here, which was helpful in determining how to be a patient player and a smarter player, but the family heritage still passed on, and I don't feel good about it to this day, and he knows exactly what it is. He's seen it in me. He's seen it in my son. Off the field, I think he's a gentleman. I think I am too, but I have that, and I've, in 25 years I've played polo, I haven't been able to shake it. I still have it. I lecture everyone on it, by the way. Particularly my son.
Good.
But it's a challenge. When I get on the field, I am extremely competitive. It doesn't matter who I'm playing. I want to win. And that's not a good perspective. I absolutely realize that.
By the way, we don't want to mention any names of the guilty here, but we also want pithy comebacks. No one is required to agree with any of this. Why don't you read number 4, Greg?
Sure. Because a player is guilty of crossing the line does not mean they should be run down or injured. Remarkable indeed that this counsel is even necessary.
What does that mean? Translate that for me, Patrick.
Well, I think it's no one will argue that polo is a simple sport. Everyone messes up. Everyone breaks the rules. Everybody fouls every now and then. It's never appropriate to get mad on the field, to try to take something out of someone else. That's, to me, a lot of the joy in polo is that everybody's good with each other. There's no hard feelings. It's all gentlemen. You'll get out there. We'll butt heads and run into each other, but we'll go hang out afterward.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it, really.
There's a case at El Dorado some years ago that the one professional polo player, a three-goaler, was inadvertently ball bounced off a horse. He was inadvertently across the line, and a amateur player was going down the line. A zero-goer was going down the line, and his professional yelled at him, "It's your line, take him out." And he did take him out, broke that guy's collarbone. The point is, the fact that someone's across the line doesn't mean you're going to take them out.
Sure.
There's several cases like that. One time it happened to me in Santa Barbara. Just in the throwing, the guys wanted to take my whole horse down. It's enough said. Why don't we go to number 5, Patrick?
You cannot win or control every play. Do not risk a foul. Go on to the next play.
Okay.
I'd like to comment on that.
Please.
If you're the strongest player on the team, you just can't expect to make every play. You need to utilize your team as the best you can.
Right.
The other part of it is you've got to learn when to rest your horse. And the only way that you can pull back and save that pony so that it'll last for an entire chukker is to utilize your team and get the ball going in the right direction and your teammates going with the ball.
Great point.
It's safe for you
Amen.
and your horse
Yes,
when you do it.
That's one of our other points, son. Your horse can't go max full chucker.
And something else on that I've learned a lot from helping you coach the novice guys here and back home in Woodside is everyone who plays polo wants to learn more. And when you're one of the more experienced people out there, I think the best thing you can do is to sit there and set up a shot for someone else and coordinate with the team and let everyone else play. And that's when everybody wins.
Amen. Good idea.
That's the way they learn. You bet.
Another thing, it's 300 yards. You don't have to foul somebody. Let them have the play. Go on to the next play. It's a big polo field.
Sure.
You don't have to win every single play at the risk of danger. And Greg, would you think number 6, please?
Sure.
You're number 7.
Okay.
Umpiring. Speaking of foolishness, when a player fouls near the goal mouth, it should merit award of penalty 1. This rule is not in the book for show. As an umpire, use it, make it work. It creates a safer attitude. And do you know how to line up? Post a penalty 1. Review USPA rules once a year.
It's all about penalty 1. Can anyone here tell me how you line up after penalty 1 in an outdoor game? See, that's
Well,
my
you throw it in on the 15th.
That's it. That's my point. Penalty, when somebody does something deliberate or dangerous, not both, and they're in that 5-10 yard zone because they're trying to save a goal, that's a penalty 1. And people don't have the courage to call it. That's why it's there. It stops that kind of misconduct. And what I've discovered in my umpiring is that no one knows how to line up after penalty 1. So they're so flummoxed. It's my favorite new word. It's confused with it now. And they're so flummoxed, they don't even argue the thing. They're busy figuring out how to line up. It's on a 10-yard line, and you have to have the umpire has to have the ball in on the parallel to the goal line. But penalty 1 should be used in a case. Otherwise, there's no charge. That's why they get foolish in that last moment. I want to take number 7.
Sure.
Can I stop you for a
Please.
second and ask another question relative to that, or make a comment? I think there's 2 schools of thought in polo. There's high goal and there's everybody else, which is
Right.
90% of polo players, I believe,
Right.
in this country.
4 of us being a high goal team.
Right, of course. So we don't know anything about the low goal
I
part.
think our new name is Team 1.
I think the biggest challenge, you made a great point, which is, do people know where to line up? Do people read the rule book once a year? Do people read the rule book ever?
They should read it once a year.
Because it changes.
Just to,
Parts
no,
of it
not
change
even
every
for
year.
the changes. It just refreshes you. Every spring for a summer season, you should. I used to take it somewhere and read it because I learn more and more.
Yeah. Knowing, I guess my long-winded point to this comment is knowing that out of the 90% of the polo world probably doesn't know it, certainly front to back. I think a lot of people know the general gist because they've played long enough. But I have to give credit to USPA. They've done a great job in this whole umpiring issue and getting better umpires, smarter umpires,
Right.
making people in virtually every club, making someone in every club an umpire. Whether it's an A, whether it's a B, doesn't really,
Sure.
as long as there's somebody out there that has some knowledge
Right.
of how to umpire, to teach and stop the games and point out the rule issues when people break them. I have to give USPA credit. They've done a heck of a lot.
Well said.
I think it's a challenge still for a local club, mine being a great example. And to Ed's earlier point of virtually everybody you bring in is mid-40s, maybe haven't ridden, certainly don't have a clue what the USPA rule book even looks
They have to
like.
make the money first.
Right, absolutely, and that's never going to change. So I think we as a delegate of a club and USPA, who I think has done a great job, have got to continue to force this issue of
Right.
everybody understanding the rules. Forget horsemanship and all those
That's
other
right.
things that are a far bigger.
Umpiring and safety
challenge.
are one and the same. You want to take we have number 7 now.
7. Umpiring prior to throwing in the game ball, give an emphatic, no-nonsense warning that all fouls will be whistled, set the tone early and firmly, get their attention. And especially tournament games, when there's good silver on the line or you know, everybody wants to win.
Right.
When I'm umpiring, I'll lay out some specifics. For example, clubbing horses. If you hit a horse, a foul's going to be blown on you, and then try to be a little tougher at the very beginning.
Right.
And then that'll
Yeah.
make
That's a good
people pay more attention for the rest of it.
Amen.
You do that.
And,
And you do that. You
I-
always
I-
have done.
I-
that.
If in the first 2 minutes you establish a profile, that game will carry all the way through 6. Otherwise, in the 5th and 6th chukker, it's a nightmare and you can't recover.
Yeah.
You need that early foul, legitimate, but need an early foul. You need to let them know. I used to say we're going to blow I used to let them know we're going to blow every single foul. Go on to the next play. You can't win every one. Then I'd look for one, and I try to be really very stern the first couple of minutes. And I found I had a pretty easy game then. Say just what you would do. You want to take number 8?
Horse safety. Use all available countermeasures. Bell boots, bandages, all 4 legs, overgirth, breakaway stirrups, as well as grooming the horse meticulously. They rate it. Build a relationship with each pony and be sure they are fun to ride. That to me is very important. If I look at the way that I play at home, I mean, I'm blessed with my father and all the resources he provided me, but I got the truck, the horses, all 5 horses, a 5-horse trailer, drive over to Menlo Polo Club a couple hours early. To me, a lot of the fun is setting up the rig, getting the horses out, grooming everyone, talking to them, building that relationship, and I'll tell you, 10 times better. There is a difference
Amen.
when you have that bond and it's not just
That's right.
a machine.
That's right. Well said. And the number 9 is something you already talked about. Why don't you do number 9, Ed?
play at a level that works for you and pace your horse. Pace yourself. One cannot run full power for an entire chukker. I've always been a believer. You've only got so many horses. Sometimes you have to double. You don't know if you may have to double a second one. So I'm always, when I have the opportunity, I'm saving my horse and
Right.
holding him back. And for these guys that just go full tilt for an entire chukker, they truly need 2 horses
Yeah.
a chukker.
That or they got a deep
And,
barn.
and we try to pass that on, especially in collegiate and interscholastic polo, because the horses are
Right.
split in strings.
Right.
They have to play 2 chukkers.
Sure.
Would you take the first part of number 10 here for us, Greg?
Sure. Once again, safety first. Play aside the fans and the snappy photographers. Wear all safety gear, lightweight elbow pads. You will lose 0 movement, and with minimizing injury.
Bob McGregor used to say, it's not if you get hurt at polo, it's when. There's an awful lot of things you can do to help both yourself and the horse. Sure, it doesn't look good in a photograph. You should have 2 helmets.
Sure.
And why don't you do number 11?
Use face guards. At Eldorado, there was a refrain once echoed, "It is a club rule that all handsome players must wear a face guard." Then the USP governor would volunteer to secure a waiver for his pals. Much of their charge-in and his rapacious sense of humor. Wear a face guard, a good one.
Speak up.
I've got a story for that one.
Okay, good.
Something my pop told me. This must have been 5-6 years ago at Menlo Polo Club. He was wearing, face guard and glasses. And he was down there, and somebody was riding him off, made a neck shot. Mallet came around, comes up through the face mask, hits Dad in the eye on the goggles, cut up real bad right above his left eye. And had he not been wearing both of those things, would have shattered through the glasses. Didn't have the glasses, would have lost his eye. But man, that's things happen like that, and it's so important that we're prepared for it.
Well said. I've had 4. I was in polo 1 year without a face guard. A guy named Sandy lost an eye in Hawaii, and I went to face guards. I've had 4 friends. There's not worldwide numbers. 4 people I know personally in my time at polo lose one eye. Why don't you go ahead and read number 12 and 13.
Sure thing. If you have a $10 head, buy a $10 helmet.
There's really good helmets out there. They do take a bad crush. You've got to buy a new one because it loses its protection. Number 13.
Wear a quality helmet and face guard. When a helmet has gone through a severe hit and concussion, etc., be sure to replace the lining, or better yet, purchase a new helmet. The protection is lost in a severe hit. I think that's also very true. These helmets are, like he says here, they're designed to take solid hits, and they'll protect your skull. But think about your skull. You can take a hit in your skull, but got to heal between them. There's only so much a helmet can take, and once the helmet's gone, well, then you're out of protection.
But it's something that people don't do.
Yeah.
No.
Once
no.
they get that helmet that they like, and I'm pretty careful of the helmets that the students use around here, and we're going to get a little more stringent on it,
Right.
even more in the future. And even equitation helmets, I find them with those old little things, little cat helmets that looks like they got at Toys R Us, and so I take them and I'll throw them in the trash. Hopefully they'll pick them up, but not bring them back.
Right.
And so that's a real important part. Good helmet, good face mask. And I like the stainless steel myself, connected to the helmet. I've seen a new type of face guard that will pop off. Have you seen those? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got little clips on them to where if they took a lick, it would save you, I would think, but then it'll pop off of the helmet.
One of the misconceptions around is that a face guard could cause you a bad angle of fall. But there's never been any evidence that ever caused any injury. I'm going to take 14. I've been in polo over 30 years, and I have personal knowledge. This is not my worldwide numbers. I think our sport has worse injuries than the National Football League. 7 people I knew died on the polo field. Almost all went into comas, brain injury, eventually disconnected. And of course, 4 have lost one eye. 2, Enrique Zobel and Rob Walton, paralyzed friends of mine, neck down. 2 more still have brain damage. The point is, it's a dangerous game. It might be the best game in the world, but it's a dangerous game. You've got to ameliorate that with some disciplines and some control. And one shake 15.
Examine your equipment regularly. Repair and upgrade as needed. Mahalo nui loa from Hawaii, Peter Rizzo of USPA fame.
All right. Peter Rizzo talks about that all the time. And you got to, like you're walking up to an airplane or doing something in a military mission, you got to check your stuff out. Polo players don't check their girth. Why would they trust to know that's just right? Why wouldn't they have an overgirth? Why don't they look when they walk up? Why aren't they looking at the horse's bridle and everything? Even if they did the tacking earlier.
Yeah.
We teach that here, and it's
pre-flighting.
It's not only for polo, but in equitation classes and all of them.
I say 16.
Sure. Go to the PTF's video on polo, encyclopedic media. Add it to your digital book, iPhone, iPad, etc., to use for airplane time, auto time. Make ongoing education a regular item on your agenda. Be ahead of those ignorant rascals who believe money is all it takes to be a polo player. It's funny, I've always said the cheapest of all the equine disciplines are polo players. I don't believe it's I need the horse, I need the trucks and trailers. They don't think about the most important, which is the stirrup leathers, really the helmet,
Yes,
the most
yes.
important, the stirrup leathers, all the things that keep them from smashing into the ground.
There's so many small things like those big honk. They ever been in Hong Kong? Those stirrup leathers that
Yeah,
break away and
sure.
have a hinge. There's so many things you can do to be safe.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's number
17.
17.
Hitting cages. Best design, the USPA Mack Lidfoot cage by Judd Mack and Billy Linfoot. Not only a super technique on how to improve striking the ball and using the near side without fear, but also a chance to save your pony's legs. When I was playing full time, I would always get up in those cages, and so I'd try to keep several balls going, and I'd even put tennis balls in there. And when I'd get on that horse, I didn't feel like there was a ball I couldn't hit in any direction.
Yeah, the horse is pretty stable.
And but no, when I would play,
the real horse.
after I was in the cage.
Sure.
It does build
And
confidence.
it just really helps build your confidence. And the other thing I tell the students is make your swings proper. Don't get sloppy when you start getting tired or
Yes.
change hands.
Yeah.
Take
we
it
go
serious
through
when
that.
you get in there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Judd Mack tells the story about how Billy Linfoot kept two balls going. And I'm not sure that's a good idea, by the way, being pithy and all that. But because, you ought to... But anyway, he used to get two balls going at one time, this 9-goaler, and he fell off the horse, the wooden horse. Fell off the horse. Okay, next one. 18.
All right. Consider a slightly weighted mallet for practice. Works for baseball players. I think that's a pretty solid point there. If you got a heavier mallet in your practice, when you get out there in the tournaments, you're going to feel like you can do anything.
Right.
I even think about some of the ways that this is a little unorthodox, but the way I'll condition some of my pole horses at home anyways, because I live on the base of a mountain in California, so we'll go on a ride up the mountainside, some extra tack, and the time they get up, and the second they step on that field at Menlo, easy.
Judd used to use little fishing weights and weight them out that we'd use in the cage only.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like baseball players hold two bats or something. They have a heavier.
Mm-hmm. You got to be careful for those of us that aren't young men any longer,
You get injured.
or if you've had a prior injury.
Right.
You've got to be real careful. Sometimes it may help you to just get the lighter mallet
Amen.
and not swing quite so often.
A lot of people have tennis polo elbow.
Yeah.
I think I had tennis elbow for, I don't know, 8 or
Reggie
10
does a
years.
great class on how to offset the polo elbow. He's when I talk, he fixed mine.
No, we didn't.
And Greg, why don't you do the near side, the first part of the near
Sure.
side? Number
When
19.
hitting on the near side, one must be committed and finished with the strike. There is, for a moment, a sense of
It's actually
incertitude,
incertitude.
namely, you are out there. Practice 90% on the near side. If you are accomplished on the near side, you will be hot stuff on the off side. Similar to tennis and other sports, work on the toughest part of striking. Another hitting tip is a short, quick, mnemonic to flash on when approaching the ball. PAS, position, arm extension, spot on the ball. Most hit late, start a touch early. How many penalty shots go off to the right?
I think you should go in the cage, and when you're sticking balling, you should get on that near side and do it heavy, just one ball at a time. And you can challenge me on this, but one ball at a time, a little spot on the ball, just get your arms way out, make it a full stroke, and do a lot of heavy. Like when at El Dorado Polo Club on certain Friday mornings, you would see 40, 35, 40 people sticking balling. What do you see them doing? Putting it around little circles on the offside, because that's what they're comfortable
Just having
doing.
fun.
Well, what are they doing? They should be on the near side, all the way length of the field, the near side and back, take it again, near side. Do you think if they'll have trouble on their offside? No. You got to get the master of the near side. And if you're good on your near side, you won't do that jump in front of somebody and foul. So you take your side you're more comfortable on, right?
One thing about the near side, especially with beginner riders and new players, is what kills a near side shot is being too close to the ball.
Yeah.
And so many people will put weight on that left stirrup to come around, and then that just moves the horse closer when they lose contact.
Yes.
So it's kind of like hugging yourself,
Yes.
plus counterbalance your weight or try to get more weight on your outside stirrup, and then you'll be able to do a follow-through on the left side of the horse instead of making a neck shot.
It's also, you got to watch where your rein hand is, because something that I had to train myself out of was because I had to grab the mane in order to make sure I can do this, because when you turn that torso, your left arm will turn with it and push your horse over the blind.
That's right.
So you just kind of keep that all centered in there and drop through. And something else, I don't really know who the audience is, but any of the, interscholastic players, intercollegiate players, anybody who's not high goal, those teams, those people who can play on that near side consistently, they'll win. Every time.
Amen.
Sure.
Every time.
Bob Skeen, I saw Bob Skeen at Santa Barbara take somebody, different guys were trying to take him out. He took the ball the entire length of the field and scored him near side, just beautifully stroking. And the other thing you mentioned earlier is that if you learn, and Mike Daly has a class coming out of this, the compass around the horse where the ball goes. I was playing polo 4, 5, 6 years before I realized that if I put the ball out this way, the offside back shot was easier. If I positioning the ball to the horse makes hitting really easy. Mm-hmm. 9-goers can run up to a ball and hit it anywhere.
Sure.
We can't, but we put the ball in the right spot for where we want it to go, and you should learn those spots. There's about 6 spots that people should study. Let's go to number 20, Greg.
Awards. Remember, your first goal scored in a real game. Most rookies never forget it. Now that you are a veteran poloist, focus on proud moments to acknowledge and praise players who achieve a special moment. Mac Jason always did.
Amen. I know polo players that have scored their first goal, and I tried to follow Mac Jason's footsteps. First goal in a regular game, and he'd ride up to him afterwards and say, "That was your first goal. Really well done." He'd notice it because that polo player is beaming, but no one else knows. Why don't you read number 21?
Billy Linfoot, Most Improved Player Award, offers serious USPA recognition and is awarded annually to the select player at each and every club in the association. Yet few managers or clubs take the time to recognize their newest polo star.
Amen. Has anybody here seen or presented the Billy Linfoot Most Improved Player Award?
I never even.
Well, it's available to every single club. And don't forget the veteran guys who could secure it and award it, they're not going to get it. And they unfortunately don't follow up. It's far less than half. It's still used pretty heavily. Alan Shearer, one of the governors, designed a beautiful award that anybody who's new in polo would just treasure, especially if it's presented lovingly by his teammates. And yet it is not given out. Recognition's a big thing.
It is, particularly when you come in at that age that I was speaking of. I've had a club for 12 years, and again, I give most all the credit to my wife, who has made sure that everything that is available to our club from the USPA, particularly this, we even have a groom award, as you know, that we give out. Now, we really only
We'll
have...
try to videotape that obsequious moment.
I get the groom award typically, but anyway, it is something we absolutely give out, and you're right, they do
Right.
cherish. We actually have them vote on who should get it.
You give out the Billy Linfoot every year.
Oh, absolutely, we have.
I'm so
12
proud of
years.
you. You know, it's another thing when you frame it really nice, everybody autograph the back of it.
Yeah.
Give it to the guy's going to treasure the rest of his life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And so let's go to the next one. 22 is it?
Yes. Be early. Test ride your
That's
mounts.
you.
Yeah. Discuss with your teammates your game plan. Driving your car up at the last second and jumping on your horse is unwise and perhaps dangerous. So true.
Has your dad ever done that? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No, it's very important that if you, especially when you're playing with a team, nobody wants to play with the guy that drives up and just pops on the horse that's been tacked for him and just gets out there and just plays, because he's playing for himself. He's playing for fun. You get there early, you hang out with the team, you talk to people, you groom your horse, you're having a good time. Like I said, I think half of the fun is the before and after of a polo game.
Well said.
Nothing's more annoying than
It's like romance, isn't it?
to get out there and get ready, because it's a lot of trouble, and then have to wait on somebody that's
Yes.
not there. And it's polo games are just
It's a
known
team sport.
for
They
starting
roll
late,
That's why we're doing
and it
this.
hurts them, it hurts your teammates, and it hurts the tempo of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why don't you take number 23? This is right up here. You.
Me?
Yeah.
Sure thing. Conditioning. Ride each horse. Those who lead lose.
Do you know what that means?
No.
It means the people who pony their horses. Ride them in a group. That's
Okay.
a quote from Billy Linfoot.
I like that.
Like, I stick and ball, non-polo days, on virtually every horse I have. And when I get to the field early, I ride 3 or 4 horses before the game. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's spot on. Like I said, it's, all the horses back home, all the horses here. Yeah, I mean, you take that just a few minutes before you really get that connection. I swear to God, there is a difference, because that horse knows who's on its back. That horse knows exactly what's going on.
Plus, it gives you an opportunity to evaluate horses that you're riding if you hadn't played them before, and it's really important.
Because you'll know if something's not right, you'll say, well, this is, back home. I'll tell you, you put me on my horse Buster back home, eyes closed, blindfolded, I'll know who I'm riding, and I'll know if something's wrong. And that's the most important thing, because you got to know your horses, because it's a team. It's not just the four players out there. It's a team. You and your horse.
All right, when you miss the ball, don't take it out on your horse and whip and spur. Remember, your horse is doing 90% of the work. It's hard on the game when people do that, because spectators can see it. And in this day and time, with all the animal rights people and all, you have to be so careful around with what you do with the horses. They think the game's cruel enough, but they don't realize that the horses love the game of polo. But if you're upset, maybe it's not a well-trained horse, you miss a shot, it sure doesn't do them any good to just wail on them
It's also
if
a
they've
foul.
caused a shot.
It's also a foul.
That too.
It is a foul, yeah.
I have to tell you a very fast, funny story. It has nothing really to do with whaling on horses, but my wife used to run Deer Creek Music Center, which is outside of Indianapolis, and she got a bank and BMW North America to build a polo field. In one of the many matches that we had, now you know why. Now you know why I married her.
She's a sweetheart. That's the reason I called her, asked her where it was.
She should be getting a lot of letters.
We had a match. Remember, this is a music center, so there were always concerts that were going on after the polo matches later that evening. One of the matches was a Grateful Dead. Well, the kind of following the Grateful Dead has is PETA and otherwise related. We had 60 horses tied up to multiple trailers, and they came over as we're playing and would untie all the horses. The horses are running all over the damn place. So it wasn't cruelty in their mind. It was cruelty. It certainly wasn't in our minds, and they were certainly well cared for. But ironically, it's you're absolutely right. People's perspective and an opinion of how you're treating those horses is important, particularly when you're hitting them, and which is absolutely wrong
You have
to
to
do.
contend with people that know nothing about horses.
Right,
Right,
absolutely.
I mean, like I said, it's a team. And, you treat your teammates poorly, they're not going to want to play with you.
Yeah,
Treat your horses poorly, they're going to remember that.
Would you know? 26th grade.
so true. You bet. The key to better polo is anticipation. Those who anticipate the next play or where the ball will make the winning plays think, where may I contribute and position my horse early? When galloping down the polo field, try thinking Argentine Open. I mean, this is so important. A couple of points ago, a great point was talking about the game and having some strategy before you start. Anticipation is just as key to that. The one thing I didn't see on here is defense, and that would be equally as important.
Yeah.
Something that you obviously also teach a lot of here, because you guys play great defense always. But absolutely, anticipation is absolutely key when playing a game.
Famous quote from the Argentine Open, the one that Billy Linfoot won. Juan Carlos Harriet, repeatedly 12-goaler, said, "If you do nothing else while galloping down the polo field, try thinking." Every second, think where you should be, what you should be doing. Would you take the next one, please? 27.
Yes, never turn your horse's head across the neck of an opponent's horse or slash the bit into the other player's arm. This is a foul, though often not witnessed by the umpire. Yeah, it's sometimes horses heads will get up, and you may do it by accident. But
Yes.
I'm a believer in using a direct rein sometimes when you're playing. You can take your mallet rein,
Help the horse.
and,
Use the
and
second hand.
reach over,
Yes.
and pull
Yes.
the head out.
Yes.
Plus, it helps getting the balls going the other direction. It'll certainly help your
You
horse.
can get that mallet hand down and help your horse out a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that can stop a lot of it. Anybody that's malicious enough to do that intentionally, the umpire ought to be looking for it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hard for him to spot, but I think a lot of it's accidental.
Yeah.
And would you like to take number 28?
Sure. Oh, I'd love to take this one.
Or to, I think the number, okay.
Appealing for fouls. Even a weird glance at the official is a foul in bad form. Go on to the next play. Life and our great game are not perfect. Excellent, because I personally feel whenever I see people, throwing their mallet in the air, screaming, "Hey, what's up?" No, because it's a gentleman's sport, and we all have to have respect for each other and respect for the official who is there to help facilitate our game and our fun. It's a lot more fun to play than it is to umpire. So we owe a debt to him for
Amen.
being there.
Amen.
So show respect. They're umpires because they know the rules.
I'm tough on that here. It just aggravates me, and I don't like somebody calling the game for me. It is written up as a foul. I'll blow a whistle often, but I'll call it conflicting fouls. He crossed, you
Right.
appealed, and then if it continues, I'll offer him the whistle.
Just tell us a 26E. He'll be so flummoxed he won't be able to understand it because he didn't read the book. And how about the next one? Winston Churchill, Greg.
Winston Churchill once said, "A polo handicap is your passport to the world." Wisely stated. Be worthy of it, both on and off the field, off the polo ground. Excuse me. I couldn't agree more. It's ironic that I've, like you all, I'm sure, have traveled all over the country or maybe the world, and the first thing you do is you look up the polo clubs and where they are, and I've done it a lot. Ironically, years ago when I first met my wife, we were in Stanford, and I went to the Menlo Circus Club, I think they called it then, and found a cowboy who leased horses out. He said his name, I might even remember it. And leased 6 horses. Might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have been. But anyway, you're absolutely, this is a great statement from
Winston Churchill had another quote about horses that's famous. Anybody else want to know what it is? Come on. The outside.
With the
Yeah,
outside
there's
of the
nothing
horse
better.
It's
than
good.
the inside of the
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Very, very true.
I think that point, quote from Winston Churchill that Greg just talked about is so true because it's a gentleman's sport. You're a good polo player, you ought to be a gentleman.
Amen. And we'd like to ask you to read 29 for our final point, and we're going to discuss some of this stuff.
Long, long ago, it was once said, this sport has it all. Glamour, style, danger, and speed. Have fun, make the most of it. It is an awesome way of life. Play it wisely. Amen. P.T. Brent.
Now we'd like to, that's our 29 points, but we'd like to talk a little bit about a few points you were talking about earlier today.
Yeah, one of the things that we've discovered that's been around since the cavalry times is we're finding that working the young kids, the young students working with the horses are having to make decisions, and in decision making they're developing their character, and they have to the wonderful thing about a horse is if you make the wrong decision, you get immediate feedback. If you make the right decision, you get immediate feedback. And in building character, it's a process of making decisions through your life, and it shows the type of character that you inherit. The other thing is we find that when a new person comes up to a horse, they have this fear factor. Here's this 1,000-pound, 1,200-pound horse, and they're frightened of it. And then with a little bit of guidance, they're able to pick the leg up,
Right.
put the hand in the mouth, and develop, overcome that fear with courage to be able to get up and do that. And then with a little more guidance, they can step up on that horse, and instead of that horse taking them for a ride, they've got enough of the basics to where they can take control and have the confidence to do that. And this overcoming fear with courage and then developing confidence is a key combination or key formula for developing leadership. And we really believe that we have 94 horses in our stable, and the students that are involved with Culver have the blessing of working with our 94 clinicians in teaching leadership. And we think that it makes a difference in how they deal with people, because you can relate anything that you do on a horse on how you deal with people. Because if you're too rough or too gentle on a horse, you're not going to get what you want. And it's the same way with leading a group of people to have an accomplished goal. If you're too rough, you're not going to get results. If you're too easy, you're not going to get results. So you have to come up with that happy medium.
Sure. The
other thing is stepping up on a lot of different horses. Horses are just like people, and they're all different. It gives you an opportunity once you get up there to evaluate that horse and find out if it needs a little more leg or a little more right rein than left rein, and you learn to develop these skills of evaluating these horses. And again, it's very similar in dealing with people. You know, it takes one type of leadership for one person than another.
Sure,
and we feel like that this is just a wonderful place to start in developing leadership, and we think it works very well.
Culver's got a pretty darn good proven record in the military and a business for producing leaders. Now, what are those points? It's courage. I'm missing one. Is there 4 points or 3?
Well,
it's courage. First, fear. Fear. What's the next
fear,
one?
Courage, and then confidence, and then being able to develop control.
So control.
And so
fear, courage, confidence, and control. Because many of these people have never seen a horse.
Right.
So the fear is pretty, 100,000-pound mammal facing them. And I think we've all gone through that, except for maybe Greg. He was a high goer. He probably was, raised down in Argentina. Notice how he has no accent. And I want to thank everybody here at Culver. I've always been very, very impressed with Culver because a friend of mine is one of their more outstanding graduates, Mike Daly, class of 1971. And this is going to be one of our roundtable discussions, which will be available for people to see at www.polocollege.net, which is not released till this fall, 2012. Meantime, that's about it. Keep your eye on the ball. Out. Wrap it.